Okay, everybody. So well done for signing up to this complimentary training, because not everybody in yoga land is as excited and inspired about Facebook advertising as I am. So I love that, the freaks and geeks, we get to come together and talk about what I think is actually not only an important topic, but a powerful resource for you as a yoga business owner. So today we're going to be talking about Facebook ads. And in particular, I want to run you through 3 campaigns that I think are really important for you to be thinking about right now. I taught a similar call to this a couple of months ago before lockdown, and I've shuffled everything for today because things are changing regards lockdown and quarantine. And so I was thinking, well, what is going to be really useful for you to actually start implementing right now, so that you can be using the power of the Facebook machine to be preparing yourself either preparing yourself for what's coming, i.e. expansion, revelation, or and increasing the prosperity and the reach that you're having with, if you're teaching online, online retreats, etc. So hopefully everything I've got for you today is super current. At least that's my intention. If you're new to me, welcome. Yes, this is my accent. I live near Melbourne. That's the Australia one, not the Florida one, obviously from my accent. And I am a yoga teacher for about 12 years now, I think. I've been practicing yoga for about 34 years, and I've been running Facebook ads since 2009. So I'm going to mash all of that together for you today, and I really want to be as helpful as I can. The agenda for us for today, like I said, I've got these 3 campaigns that I want to talk you through, and along the way, some tips and tricks that you can apply to other things that you're doing on Facebook, and specifically with Facebook advertising. I want to make sure that I've got time for questions, because I know a bunch of you have emailed me some specific stuff that you're struggling with or that you're curious about. So we'll try and get some of that done. And then towards the end, I am going to tell you about a program that I'm starting. It starts in a week and a bit, all about Facebook ads. So if you wanted to go deeper with me on this journey, I'll explain what that looks like at the end of our time together. I'll tell you before that happens, so that if you don't want to know more about that, you're welcome, of course, to get on with the rest of your day. But that's coming. So we've got about an hour's worth of great content and training that I've prepared, and then we'll take some questions, and then I'll let you know. Hang around, let's have a chat about my program, or thanks so much for being here, and namaste. Okay, so, and hi everybody who's still piling in. I know we had a few hundred people register for this, but a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff going on the internet at the moment. So, I won't mind at all if you are catching this on the replay because you're doing like a live gong bath or something. No harm, no foul there. Okay, let's get going with the slides, since they're so pretty. May as well use them. There's a picture of me back in the day when you had to put real pants on. Remember that? Remember that? What if those real pants will still fit me when lockdown is done? We're going to find out. Moving on. So I want to do a check-in first about where you're at with your Facebook ads. Type into the chat for me, please. What's your relationship with Facebook ads? Are you in long-term committed monogamy? Are you kind of just hooking up when you're desperate? Are you in the sort of relationship where you're just not quite sure what the other person thinks? Tell me, what's your relationship with Facebook ads? Well, how much do you spent on ads, do you think? Is it a regular part of your business? Is it a thing that you have had a bad experience with? Let's see. Discovering not spending too much on ads. Yep. Loretta says, I've done a few in the past, different business, looking to try something now soon. Great. Melita's here, as needed and got burnt once, forgot to take the ad off. Yes. Anne is just starting out. Terry, hey Terry, says, very occasional boosted posts. That's it so far. Terry, because I know you a little bit, a boost is not an ad, girl. Loretta has also been burnt once. Okay, does sound like Amy's dating life. Brilliant. Okay, lots of analogies. Fantastic. So a little bit about me, obviously more successful at Facebook ads than relationships if we're drawing that parallel. Like I said, I've been advertising on Facebook since 2009. I've spent about $65,000 so far. And as a result, I have a business that turns over about $250,000 a year. So, and the vast majority of the people who work with me have found me from my Facebook advertising. So, you know, that's my relationship with Facebook ads. Like I said, first and foremost, I'm a yoga student, and I also have this credibility with Facebook ads. So hopefully I can bring those two things together, i.e. the ethics and the mindset of being a yogi and the skill from experience in using Facebook as a business development tool to really give you some stuff that's going to be in service in a way that feels good. I know there's some bad energy, particularly in our industry, around Facebook and the ethics of it. And I do believe that there's a very clear path for us to walk, bringing these things together, and that's what I want to share with you. Shannon says, occasional use. I haven't spent much. I get likes, but no one's seeming to sign up. Shannon, that's what you emailed me. Yes. Okay, we're going to talk more about why that might be as we go along. Okay, so these are the 3 campaigns that I want to run you through today. And I've got, like I said, I'll talk to you about exactly what these mean. And then along the way, there'll be some extra pointers that you can apply to your own Facebook ads strategy, whether that is as simple as doing some boosts every now and then, or if you would like to try some of these yourself, those ideas will apply. The first one is clicks to your website. So that's fairly obvious, getting people to go from Facebook to your website in order to sign up for something, a class, an online retreat, a teacher training, your yoga teacher mentorship program, a one-to-one, an Ayurvedic consultation, whatever it is that you do. But taking someone from Facebook over to your website, essentially to make a purchase. The second campaign we'll be talking about is reconnecting with people who have already interacted with you in the past. And I think that this one is super important if, for example, you are planning in the shorter term, depending on where you live, to start teaching in person again. One of my clients, she also teaches Pilates, and she was sharing with me that she has 2 reformers in her studio. They're far enough apart. She can be mindful of hygiene, and as things where she lives loosen up slightly about quarantine, she can now take 2 semi-private Pilates clients with the reformers at a time. And so when that happens in a couple of weeks, so she's looking to let people know that that is going to be a possibility in the future. And so reconnecting with people who already know her through an ad is a really powerful way to, as things open up again, make sure that your offerings are really full and feeling great. And then the third campaign we're going to talk about is how to build your mailing list. And that one is particularly useful for people who have a higher ticket item. So, for example, a retreat to Nepal, a coaching package, a package of one-to-one classes or Ayurvedic treatments or body work, yoga teacher training, building a mailing list so that you can continue to offer value to people and then invite them to come into your higher ticket item. We're going to talk about that as well. So if that sounds good, type a yes into the chat and we will get underway. If you're already feeling overwhelmed, you can type yes into the chat as well. Okay, perfect. Okay, folks, amazing. Let's shuffle along. When I was putting these slides together, I was just so excited that I get to talk about all of this stuff with you. Terry's just a little overwhelmed. Great. We're 11 minutes in. Let's see where we can get you to. Yeah, we're going to have fun with this. I really want to make sure that you get some nuggets from this training that you go use. Don't just watch this thing. Use what I teach you. Okay, so let's start off with the clicks to your website. So this is Facebook ad basics. This is the first type of campaign that you're probably ever going to run. If you've done this type of ad, again, just type into the chat. So this is where when you create the campaign, you're optimizing, or your campaign objective is traffic. Traffic is the, tell me if my microphone's rubbing on my hair. Traffic is the online marketing term that simply means taking people from Facebook and moving them over to your website. They see something on Facebook that's interesting, and then they click a link and it goes to your website, or it goes to some other page where, for the most part, people can make a purchase, traffic. And that's referred to, that action of having someone go from Facebook to your website is called driving traffic. So the clicks to your website basic ad is where you are driving traffic from Facebook to your website. The most effective ad in this instance is an image with some text on it. You can do more. There's all sorts of options, and if you've played in the space, you'll know that Facebook gives you all sorts of options like carousels and slideshows, and you can use videos. But if you're just getting started and you're not super savvy with the Facebook Ads Manager platform, I really recommend that you have an image with some text on it. And I've got some examples about what works and what doesn't, because there's some important distinctions when it comes to our industry that you won't get from basic general Facebook ads training. What's also really important with this type of ad is that you write super compelling copy. And you make the absolute most of the copy opportunities that you're given on Facebook. Too often I see that, particularly with my clients when they're just starting out, if you're my private client, I have access to your Facebook ads account. So I'm always going in there and seeing what you're up to and what your ads look like and how they're performing. And, you know, when my clients just get going with Facebook ads, that the copy that they write is just like, oh God, are you kidding me? It's so boring. Or they don't use all the words that they can. They don't take up all the space. So compelling copy that really maximizes the space on the page, that's really mindful of the keywords, that makes sure that the most important words are at the start of the sentence, so that when the ad is displayed on in different locations, it's still really eye-catching. Compelling copy is super important for a traffic objective campaign. And the other thing that's super important here is that when you make this campaign, Facebook will ask you, what website do you want us to take people to? What is the exact URL that you want to drive traffic to? And again, a rookie move that I see people make is they just put their homepage. What's super important here is whatever you're offering, your online retreat, your classes, your studio relaunch party, your Costa Rica retreat 2021, whatever it is, you need to put the specific URL, never just your homepage. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the images themselves. You might know these folks. Some of my favorite people in yoga land. So the thing to remember about Facebook is that, believe it or not, it's actually quite a conservative platform, and that's good for everybody. They don't want hate speech. They don't want obscenities. They don't want profanity. They don't, well, a little bit, fuck. They don't want porn. They don't want violence. They don't want gore. All of this is good news for us, right? Because it means when you're on Facebook, you're not looking at like erectile dysfunction ads all the time, or shamey before and after weight loss pictures, or, you know, all that sort of stuff. It's really good. But where this can catch us up as yoga teachers is, for some of us, we wear some brief clothing. And what we might consider just what you wear to yoga class, from a Facebook perspective, can actually be considered adult content. So these two pictures here, Sarah and Noah, you can see they're wearing singlets, they're wearing tight pants. These photos are okay. These photos are not considered adult content. And as yoga teachers, you'd be looking at these thinking, well, why on earth would they? They're just doing yoga in yoga clothing. But here's where it gets interesting, because look at these two. These two pictures would not be allowed. If you tried to run an ad using a photo like either of these, it wouldn't be permitted. Facebook would say, no, nope, that breaches our regulations, that's adult content, we're not going to approve your ad. And again, arguably, you do a lot of yoga, neither of these photos are particularly revealing. I mean, everybody gets to have their own opinion about if you think dudes should practice yoga with their shirts off or not. I'm not getting into that on a Saturday morning. But I'm sure you've been at a yoga class where he or her has also been next to you on a sticky mat. It's fairly normal. And I know for anybody who's got anything in the way of breast tissue, you put on a yoga tank with a shelf bra in it and you just get cleavage, right? It's just the way what did a friend of mine used to call it? Like pancake bra. It's just kind of what happens. So when you do Astavakrasana with a crop top with a shelf bra in it, that happens. You get cleavage, but Facebook doesn't like it. So something to consider when you're choosing your images for Facebook, you need to be really careful, because I'm pretty sure if you were wearing a strappy singlet and leggings, like mid-calf leggings, you're not thinking that you're wearing anything particularly skimpy. And yet Facebook would say, no, sorry, not allowed. So do be mindful about this idea of adult content, because what we think is just standard yoga attire might get you blocked on Facebook. Has anybody had an experience of having their ad rejected because it was too racy? Type into the chat if you've ever had no, that's a saucy photograph. You're not allowed to put that on our platform. Loretta says, I was rejected for something, but I couldn't get a human to tell me what. I'm pretty sure I know what it was, Loretta. I'm pretty sure if you've had that happen to you, I'm pretty sure that it was probably a language thing. That's where a lot of people also get tripped up, which is something that is a bit of an art form in itself. This idea of discriminatory or offensive language can be, and we don't have time to go into that today, but yeah, it might have been that. If we have time at the end, I will talk about it a little bit, Loretta, because it's a common trip up. Okay, so when I said before, I recommend, Amy gets bossy when she's enthusiastic about your businesses, putting an image with text on it. It's important to remember that Facebook doesn't want things to look super promotional. So it says the most text that you can have on an image is 20%. So here's 2 images that I've used on Facebook. If you're in my Facebook group, you might have seen this one. And this is probably the ad that you clicked to show up to this training. So this one, if I tried to run it as an ad, pay it forward challenge, would be rejected because the text takes up, what, 70%, 80% of the photo, not allowed. Whereas this one, the text is just down here, less than 20%, or maybe about 20% coverage, and so that's okay. So an image with text on it where the text can only take up 20% of the space or less. Now, a quick little tip, something that you can do to make the text look bigger is to put a shape behind it. So you can't quite see this one. I'll show you some more examples in a moment. But underneath this font, I've actually got like a gray box that emphasizes the text more without the text being larger. So that's a nice little workaround if you're looking for, how do I get, okay, Amy, I understand I can only have 20% text, but I've got a lot of words there, and by the time they're that small, it's hard to see them with the photo. Putting a box behind it or some kind of a shape behind it can help with that. Layered gradual boxes, says Loretta. Totally. Okay, so that's so that's everything I wanted to say about traffic ads. That's campaign number 1. So you can all be running that. You can all be running this campaign at the moment. Yeah, totally. Loretta says, I use Canva. It's amazing. Yet all of the images that these slides and all of my ads are all in Canva as well. Loretta is super cool. So this is a campaign that you can be running right now. If you're offering online classes, this is a great campaign to be running for online classes, monthly memberships to your virtual studio. If you're doing online retreats, or special events. These are great campaigns to be running. It's definitely something that you can be running all the time. And for the people in my Facebook ads training course, one of the things that I really emphasize, and just to plant a seed for all of you now, is the importance of considering having a monthly Facebook ads budget, that it just becomes one of the ongoing expenses to having a really successful, full and abundant yoga business, that you're always running some type of campaign. This type of campaign, a traffic campaign, photo with some text on it, is a great option for the sort of like your baseline ongoing advertising opportunity. Okay, let's move on to campaign number 2. So this is campaign number 2 that I think would work really well for you right now, is the idea of reconnecting with people. So this is where you would optimize, or your campaign objective would be a reach campaign. A reach campaign is where you say to Facebook, so before, let me backtrack a moment, the campaign objective of the traffic ad was simply to say, Facebook, I want you to go find me as many people as you can who would be interested in clicking my ad and going to look at my website. Here's all the types of people I'm interested in. You go find the people who are most likely, of all of those people, Facebook, you go find the people who are most likely to click my ad. A reach ad is when you say to Facebook, Facebook, here's all of these people. I want you to show every single one of them my ad. Regardless of how likely they are to click it, I want them to see my ad. Does that make sense? It's different. The first one, traffic, really big audience. You might have 2.5 million people. And Facebook is going to go find, of those 2.5 million, the people who are most likely to click your ad, who have demonstrated behavior of clicking a Facebook ad and going to a website. With this one, a reach objective is saying, I don't care, Facebook, about their previous behavior. I just want you to make sure that they see my ad. And generally, for a reach objective, you'll have a much smaller audience. So maybe there's only 1,500 people in your audience, but you want to make sure that every one of those 1,500 people sees your ad. Just type a yes into, or a no, into the chat if this is tracking, if the difference makes sense. Okay, great. Perfect. Thanks, everybody. All right. So as you can imagine, a reach objective is really good for when people already know you and you want to make sure that they've seen what you're talking about. So this is where you can use custom audiences, where you can create, using your own information, specific collections or specific groups of people in order to show your ad to. And these are the 4 custom audiences that I think work really well with a reach objective campaign. So you could make a custom audience of all the people who have engaged with your Instagram. So people who follow you on Instagram, people who have liked your stuff on Instagram or sent you DMs. You can go, Facebook will go collect all of those people for you and save them in a custom audience. Next, you can make a custom audience for everybody who has interacted with your Facebook page, everybody who follows you, likes your content, has watched your lives or watched your videos, engaged with previous ads. Facebook will go collect all of them and make them into a particular audience. The third one is your customer data. So this is, depending on what you use for payment processing, this might be, you might pull this data from your PayPal records or your Stripe records, Square. You could pull this out of your Acuity, out of your scheduler. But what you're essentially, that customer data is email addresses that you have through your purchasing software or your booking software that you then upload to Facebook and say, okay, here's another little collection of people. I want to make sure that they see my ad. And then the final one that works really well for everybody who's here right now is your mailing list. And if you use MailChimp, there's an automatic integration function. But if you'd use Constant Contact or Flowdesk or I don't know, whatever else, MindBody, whatever else you might be using, you can import email addresses and create a custom audience of those people. Now, if you're anything like most of the folks that I work with, by the time you consolidate all of those 4 different types of custom audiences, there's probably going to be maybe 1,000, 2,000 people in total. But this is really good news, because think about it. You tell me, what do we know if you consolidate all of those people from those 4 areas of your business? What do we know about them? What's different about them compared to the people who might see your traffic ad? Why would this be more powerful? Type into the chat. What do you think Amy's recommending that you go to all this trouble to come up with a group of only 1,500, 2,000 people? Why would this be a good idea in terms of business? Melita says, they've already showed interest in you and are warm customers. Yep, you got it. They know you already. Yep, exactly. They already know you, and they've already had experience of us. Yep. Hey, Claudia, totally. So, you know, if you think about all of that cheesy kind of marketing, salesman sort of stuff, it's true though, right? Like if people have already purchased something, like the most likely customers you'll have are your previous customers, unless you like suck. You know, unless your yoga is terrible, the most likely students you're going to have in the future are your past students, and that's what this does. And so one of the great things about this type of campaign is you can make it really personal, because these people know you already, and maybe they don't know you super well. Maybe they follow you on Instagram and they follow a million other people. Okay. But it's fair to presume that most of the people in the consolidated custom audience that you create will remember you. So you can be really warm and familiar and engaging with people. And this is where it gets to be fun. This is where Facebook advertising gets to just feel like another way of communicating with people and being playful and engaging, and where you can be creative rather than feeling like you're always being super pushy and salesy. So let me show you some examples. So here's 2 examples that I just mocked up for you. So let's say you're about to reopen the doors of your studio, right? You could do a reach campaign that would go out to your mailing list, anybody who'd bought from you in the past, anybody who follows you on Instagram, anybody who engages with you on Facebook, and you could show them an ad like this. So you can see it's got 20% or less text. It's got a shape behind the text to make it pop. The photos are just me in my yoga clothing, not doing anything super impressive or intimidating, just doing yoga, but the background of the photos is eye-catching enough. And I'm saying something that lets people know, like I'm presuming that they remember me. So if we look at this one here, it's time, a reopening party, you're invited. Like, I'm not saying they're beginners yoga series or start your yoga practice. I'm just going straight to the heart of it. You remember me, that lady with the black clothing and the blonde ponytail? Welcome back. I'm not doing this is not our first date. This is let's have a second date. Come on back. Or this one, we're back. Get yourself back into the studio. I mean, I'm probably, those of you who know me a little, I'm quite direct with my people. I'm super direct with my yoga students. They know that I just boss them around. That's what they pay me for. So this one is just, again, I'm not saying yoga classes in Castlemaine starting new, or post-quarantine yoga classes at the Forge, Castlemaine. I'm not giving them any of that intro stuff. They already know who I am. They've probably, if they haven't, at least half of them, i.e. my customer data and my mailing list, have taken classes with me in the past. So when they see this, even if it was 4 years ago, hopefully they remember me and go, oh yeah, that's right. That's that yoga teacher who says fuck a lot. That was kind of fun. We should go back to her classes, for example. So these types of ads are for reconnecting or re-engaging with people who already know you. Now, the thing about a reach campaign, or a campaign that objective that is reach, this type of campaign, is that it will cost you more money. think about it. And I guess where we started, the campaign number one of traffic, cheapest. Of the three that I'm going to teach you, the cheapest one for sure. But the efficacy of it, hopefully for you, it's great. But chances are you'll have a lot more misses than hits. And in fact, as a standard for, we'll talk more about this in my course, but as a standard, something to keep in mind, for me, when I'm advertising my yoga classes, I'll get about 100 people going from my Facebook ad to my, about 100 people going from my Facebook ad to my website to make one sale. So every 100 people that go to my website, someone will sign up for a class. So it's cheap to get the clicks compared to the other two campaigns. It's cheap. I might get clicks for under $1, but I got to spend $100 to make a sale. So the efficacy of a traffic campaign is not as high. Now I'm going to pay more for a click for a reach ad because I'm being very specific about the people that I want to see my ad, and I'm waiving the option for Facebook to only show my ad to people who have a demonstrated behavior of clicking ads to go to websites. I'm saying I don't care about their behavior. I don't care if they've never clicked an ad ever. I just want to make sure that they see me and they see my ad. So because of that, I'm going to pay more per click, but the efficacy will be higher because those people already know me. Like Melita said, they're warm customers. They've bought something in the past, or they've been consuming my content on social media for a while. They know who I am. So even though I'm going to have to pay more to get them to click, the chances are the numbers of people who click, the percentage of sales will be higher. Bit nerdy, but super important. One of the places where I see yoga teachers give away their power when it comes to Facebook advertising is not being Shiva encoded enough, i.e. not being as across the numbers and the data so that teachers can't make great choices. Or when you understand a little bit more about how it all works, you won't have that feeling of I wasted all my money, or a couple of people said I got really burnt. You can't be burnt if you're not playing with fire. If you know what you're doing, then you're going to stay safe. And looking at things like, what's the return on my investment? What's my, if I put this much into the machine, how much am I getting out? Like I said at the start, if I've spent 65 grand over 10 years, but I know how much is coming out, and 65 grand is a very easy spend for the amount of money that's coming back out. Once you start looking more at the numbers, then you'll create your own sense of confidence and certainty in terms of budgeting for your advertising spend. All right, I'm gonna make sure I'm up to date with the chat. If anybody has any questions so far, do go ahead and type them in. So we've been through two of the campaigns that I think are working really well so far. I've got one more to go. Anybody got any questions on anything that I've covered so far, or any reflections or insights? Have I lost anybody completely? Has anybody fallen asleep? Not that you would answer because you'll be asleep. Yeah, you haven't lost my slides. I turned them off. Okay, good. Okay, great. All right, cool. Okay, next question then. Who's feeling that they might, after this training that you've got, that you're going to go start a campaign? Like, which one of these speaks to you the most? Are you interested in traffic campaign, or maybe a reach campaign? Who's never done a reach campaign before? Loretta's going to start with traffic. Okay, great. Oh, Melita's going for number 2. Great. I mean, the second option. It sounded weird, Melita. Tammy's going to try a reach campaign. Great. So again, remember, reach, you'll pay more. And so you need to be measuring for how much you're spending. What does your conversion look like? So something else to consider when it comes to, and look, if you totally check out when it comes to numbers and stuff, I'm just going to belabor this point a little bit and then we'll move on. But please try and take this in, because this is the stuff that will create empowerment for you when it comes to using Facebook advertising to grow your business and serve more people. It's important if for everybody who is, Terry, if your website is out of date, you need to get your website up to date. A crappy website is going to be, you know how people waste the most money on Facebook ads? It's because their website sucks. Like, teacher after teacher creates these campaigns that are amazing, wildly successful. People are clicking them like nothing else. It's a flurry. But then they get to the website and it's like, wah, 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 because the ad looked great. And then they get to the website and go, oh God, this is a dumpster fire. I'm not going to buy anything here. This website's from like 1996. This is on dial-up. So, it's not just the ad's job to sell your yoga. It's your website's job as well. So tighten that up. This is, folks, this is a big one. People think that it's Facebook's fault that they spent all this money and it didn't convert. Often, very often, it's because your website was, I love you, a shit show. And so the ad was great, but the website was just not working for you and people didn't buy. Okay, so a quick additional point about spend. So for everybody who's going to go try a reach campaign, remember, it's going to cost you more. It might even cost you up to $5 a click. That might feel scary to you if you've never spent a good chunk of change on Facebook ads before. You don't have to spend a lot at once, and you should never spend when it feels unsafe. Huge fan of financial risk management. What you need to be looking at is how many people buy based on how many people click, and what is it you're selling. So this is important. If you are selling, if your reach ad is selling something that's $10 and you have to spend $100 to make a sale, then you're losing $90 every time you make a sale. Does that make sense? So reach ads are, you need to consider your strategy. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because maybe that person comes once, loves it, and comes for 5 years after that, in which case spending $100 to get a student for 5 years is a good deal. But for most of us, we simply don't measure our return on Facebook advertising investment over such a long period of time. And so spending $100 to make 10 doesn't feel good to anybody. Reach campaigns are good for when what you're selling is larger. A monthly membership to your virtual studio, a 10-week term starting post-lockdown, a 3-pack of one-to-ones. Then it starts to make sense. Okay, I had to spend $100 to make $180. All right, I'll take it. I'm still 80 in front. And if I'm a good teacher, next term, I get to keep the full 180. Does that make sense? You need to be, it's not as simple as, what's a good price? How much should I budget? What do you think I should spend? As much as it would be amazing if I could say, you know what, it's this and it's that. It's not as simple as that, because you need to be mindful about what the return looks like. So look at your numbers, be across them, be tracking. You need to, and again, this is beyond what we can get into today. What's the time? Holy dolly. You need to have your Facebook pixel installed. You need to be able to look at your thank you page post-purchase and be able to measure sales, so that you can say, okay, holy crap, I spent $500. Ooh, I don't know. Was that, Amy said, manage the numbers. Was that good? I don't know. If you have the back end of your ads manager set up correctly, and I'll teach you in Facebook Ads Know-How, you can go in and look at your data and say, okay, well, turns out I sold 10 people into something for $250. So I spent $500, but I made $2,500. So I put in $1 and I made $5 back. For me, that's good maths. And then you'll know, this is the coolest part, then you'll know next time when you go sell your next term that you can gauge that if you spend $500, you're likely to make $2,500 back. So you start to build up your own evidence and create your own certainty. What's a Facebook pixel, says Terry. A Facebook pixel is a little piece of tracking code that it's like, you know, when you say, do you accept cookies? It's like that. So it's a little piece of code that sits hidden on your website, so that you can measure how many people have visited your website from Facebook. So, and it breaks it down by pages. So I was looking at mine this morning. I can see, okay, in the past 2 weeks, 1,700 people have been to my website from Facebook. 400 went to this page, 500 went to that page. And from there, Terry, what you can do is then, for example, you could, so say, for example, this course that I'm offering at the moment, Facebook ads, I think 450 people went and looked at that sales page in the past 2 weeks. I could make a reach ad just to those people saying, hey, don't forget the bonus finishes on Wednesday. And I'm only showing it to people who have already shown an interest in the program. So that's another reason why the pixel is super useful. So Tammy says, what percent do you suggest for your return on investment? That's totally up to you, Tammy. Obviously, you know, the higher the better. But you know, that's about you and risk. Sometimes I'll run things on Facebook and just break even because my intention, and we'll get to this in a second, is to grow my mailing list. And I don't mind if I don't make anything, if I don't profit. I'm just looking to grow my community. And as long as I cover my costs of the ad, then that's great for me. At other times, you know, if I'm really looking to fill something up, like once lockdown is over, you know, like I'm sure a bunch of you, I'm really behind with sales for my retreat next year because no one's thinking about buying a retreat to Thailand right now. And May is when I sell the most places historically. So once quarantine ends, I'm going to be really going for offering my retreat to people, and that always has a higher return on investment because the price point is so high. Depending on what you buy, it's $2,000 to $3,000. So that return on investment is going to be very different to, and my appetite to spend on that campaign is going to be very different to if I was selling $10 classes, for example. Okay, so let's go back to the slides, and we'll go to my third campaign that I think, and sorry, I spent quite a bit of time negotiating with Canva this morning to make that number 2 a 3, and it's 2 again. So I apologize about that. We did have a bit of a tussle and I thought I'd won, but Canva won. Okay, I'm okay with it. This should say 3, building your mailing list. So now, this is not for if you just offer classes. And Amy, the business coach here, giving you a freebie tip. This is not a good spend for you if all you offer is classes. The best way to grow your mailing list, if you are just teaching classes and the occasional workshop, is simply by having more people come to your classes and they get on the mailing list as a result of coming to the classes. Building a mailing list is for people who have some kind of larger offer, teacher trainings, one-to-one packages, not just single sessions, but packages, retreats, mentorship programs, coaching packages, treatment plans. If you have a larger offering, then you want to grow your mailing list because people will need to probably know you better, have experienced what it is that you're about before they say yes to a higher ticket item. So that's where email marketing comes into play. So this is for those types of folks, not for you. This is not a campaign for you if you're just looking for more bums on mats. This is a campaign for you if you are launching your Yoga Nidra 50-hour teacher training in 2021 and you want to make sure you've got enough people to offer it to, for example. Does that make sense, everybody? Just give me a Y or a yes or a no into the chat. I just want to make sure that I have a lot of yoga teachers who say, I want to grow my mailing list, Amy, but I really don't recommend this spend for simply selling classes because the return on investment does not make sense. Okay, perfect. Thanks, everybody. So when you're doing a campaign to grow your mailing list, the objective that you choose for your campaign is called lead generation. Yeah, and I think the icon is a little funnel. So how do you do it? You offer something free like this, what we're all doing right now. This is my run an ad for lead generation, sign up to my mailing list and you get a free thing. What's the free thing? This training is the free thing. So other free things, ebooks, downloadable MP3s, checklists. Just mute that person. So I want you to consider what might be a good free thing that you could offer to grow your mailing list. Type it into the chat and let's take a little bit of a look, and then I'll show you some examples of what my clients are offering at the moment. They might give you some ideas as well. If you were going to run a lead generation ad, what sort of free thing would work for you? Okay, and what's your webinar about? Tell me more about it, because you need, what's important is that it's iterative to whatever it is that you're selling. So if you've got like a 6-week private Ayurvedic wellbeing consultation package, then maybe the webinar is about understanding the basics of Ayurveda for everyday life or something. Group yoga package, says Nai. Oh God, Nai, I think I just mangled your name. I'm sorry, lovely. Like, what's the free thing for that? Ebook regarding Yoga Nidra. Susie, I wonder about an ebook for Yoga Nidra, if maybe just the audio is going to be more appealing. I don't know. Do I want to read about Yoga Nidra, or do I want you giving me 15 minutes of right hand thumb, second finger? I'm going to choose them. Melita says, free training tips to get fit for hiking in Nepal. I like it. I like it, Melita. I'm curious to see how that one goes. Yeah, I like it. So great. Keep the IDs coming and I can do a check-in. We'll just keep humming along. A meal plan ebook, says Loretta. Nice one, Loretta. Remember, yeah, I could talk about this forever. Amy, stay on time. Okay, so here's some free tips for meditation techniques at home. Yep, nice one. Good one, Tammy. So here's two lead generation ads from my clients. First one, with Dougal's ad here, it's a sign up for a free workshop. So he's teaching a workshop about range of motion. He's an anatomy geek. And this is an ad that's currently running, and he's going to offer this free workshop, get a bunch of folks signed up to his mailing list, and at the end of the workshop, he has a paid class that people might like to take or not, and they then become members of his community because they're on his mailing list, and he can continue to support them and offer them good value. And then the next one here is another one of my clients, Matt. He's a counselor, and this is his ebook. He has an ebook about exactly that, coping and growing during this time, techniques to find calm, strength, and purpose in the face of adversity. Matt really likes to write. He's a thinking kind of guy, and so he has this ebook, and that's how he then sells people into his counseling services. So I want to talk about the return on investment here, and like I said, spend a lot of time on this in my course because it's super important. But just quickly here, Dougal's ad, he's paying about, I think it's about, let's see, in Australian dollars, about $1.50 for everybody who signs up to his mailing list and comes to his free workshop. Right now, this ad is current. The workshop, I think, is next weekend. So that's what he's paying. Matt, on the other hand, pays $12 for everybody who clicks his ad and gets his ebook. So on the face of it, Dougal's ad is great and Matt's ad is shit, terrible, really expensive and scary. Except Matt sells about 50% of the people who get his ebook then go on to become his clients. A session with Matt is $150, and 2/3 of the people that have one session go on to have 2 or 3 or more sessions. So while he's paying $12 for someone to get onto his mailing list, every 2 people on the mailing list, he makes a sale. So he spends, think about it, he spends $24 to make $150. And more often than not, he spends $24 to make $300 or more dollars. So again, lead generation ads, it's not as simple as saying, well, I'd like it if you could get a lead for under $1. Of course I would, but there's a difference between simply growing the mailing list to have a sort of a number, which I would say is not a useful metric in terms of, are you being in service? Are you sharing your gifts? Do you have an abundant business? versus running a lead ad that then invites people to buy something from you. And that's where the energy exchange happens of them loving what you do and deciding that they would like to work with you. I would argue that in this scenario, Matt's ad at $12 per lead, $12 for every person that joins his mailing list, is wildly successful. If that was my ad and I was making $300 every time I spent $24, I'd be spending a whole lot more of $20. So again, these are lead ads of the 3 campaigns that I've talked about. Lead ads, lead generation ads are probably going to be the most expensive per result. But remember, we're not interested simply in the Facebook ad price in terms of our results. We're interested in what happens next. That's when you can start to see, does the price make sense to me? Does it make sense to me to spend $24 to make $300? And if that's a yes for you, then keep going. If that isn't, then try a different ad. Okay, so I think that is the content that I have. So let's do some questions. Questions on anything that I've covered so far. And I know for some of you, you had other types of questions that you emailed me as well. So if you want to type your questions into the chat, anything that I've covered so far, or anything that's happened for you when it comes to ads in the past that you want my support about. Loretta, if you wanted to type in what you think might have gone wrong with that campaign where you got banned or you rejected, let's see what you got. And if you have no questions, what did you find useful? What are you going to go do now? What didn't you know before and that you might do differently? Let me just make sure. Sometimes the Zoom chat. Any questions from anybody? And I want to know, like, what are you going to go? Nai says, fixing my website is next. Do you know, can I just say on that one, make sure you're only prioritizing what has to happen. I think sometimes yoga teachers make life too difficult for themselves. For example, you don't need to do an entire website overhaul. What you need to make sure that whichever page you're driving traffic to, that page looks really good. That page is really optimized for conversions. That page is the most enticing it can be, that you've considered the user experience. This is something that, again, another glitch that I see yoga teachers make, that don't consider the user experience of the web page. What that means is they're not mindful of what it's like to use that page when you want to buy something. So this manifests as the class description is on one page, the timetable is on another page, then I've got to go get a Mind Body account, and then finally I can buy something. I'm all over the place, and it's really annoying when I'm trying to buy something from my phone. So a user experience optimized page would be a classes page that has all the class descriptions, all the times next to each one, all the prices next to each one, and then a button next to each one. So people don't mind scrolling. A page can be really long, but people don't like going to 4 different pages to buy something. So doesn't need a complete website overhaul. Just be mindful of the page that you're paying Facebook to get people to look at is beautiful, compelling, and also a really straightforward user experience. Another little tip there, Nai, and anybody else who needs to do a little bit of a website zhuzh up to get better value from your ads, another little tip is to make sure that whatever the photo that you're using in your ad, make sure that photo is on your website. The web page that you're taking people to, make sure that the photo from the ad is at least, if it's not the first photo that people see, it's at least the second photo that people see, so they know that they're in the right place. There's something in the brain that we just want confidence and certainty that this is not a scam, that we're ending up in the right place, we haven't clicked a funny link. So having the same photo on the ad and on the sales page is going to help with your conversions. All right, let's see. Tammy says you can just have a landing page for this purpose. Yeah, whether you want to call it a landing page or a sales page, but essentially the page that has the offer that you're selling, so your classes, your online retreats, your teacher training, whatever it might be, whatever the URL is that you're driving the traffic to, so landing page, sales page, that's the one that has to look great. Yeah. Great to have clarification on the different ads, says Anne. Excellent. And there are so many different types. These are just the 3 that I think are useful right now. So, I mean, there's a whole lot more different types. I think one of the things that can happen for yoga teachers is there's so many combinations and permutations when it comes to Facebook advertising that it's just like chitta vritti in blue and people freak out. So if we know these are 3 good things, try these. That's going to give you variety enough. Loretta says, yes, I've done this in the past and it's easy to manage and track, etc. Great. Claudia says, I'm using Moonclerk and Stripe. I just attach the links to my ads or post Linktree with weekly links. My ads haven't really been successful. Hard to know, Claudia, about why your ads haven't been successful. I'm guessing if you just are using the Moonclerk, if you're using the Moonclerk interface as a sales page, you're really limited in length and design. I think you can only have 1 image. It's a good, quick workaround, but not for cold traffic, probably only for people who already know you. So it might be worth spending a bit more time making a sales page for that. And then whatever sales page you have, whether you are still using the Moonclerk interface or you have a page on your website, that's the link that you would put in your ads. Posting on Linktree is another thing that you can do, but it's not an ad. It's just another way of sharing information to people who might come across it by, say, for example, your social media posts that say, I've got a gong bath on virtual gong bath on Sunday. It's, I don't know, £10. You can sign up with the link in my bio. That's where you would take people to Linktree, gong bath, press that, go buy something. But that's not an ad. That's just great social media content. Last call for questions, and then I'm going to spend a little bit of time, a couple of minutes talking about my new program about Facebook ads, which is a 4-week journey. So this is the moment. If you don't want to hear about that, if you've got your fill, thanks so much for being with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you're feeling inspired about this content. But if you are intrigued to know what does Amy talk about for 4 weeks about Facebook ads and why the hell should I take a look at it, hang around. I might. And then I think, if we have more time after that, I'm happy to take more questions too. All right, let me go back to my slides. So questions, great. Oops. Okay, so this is the program that I'll be running it for the 2nd time, which I'm super excited about. So it's had its maiden voyage and we had a super time. It's called Facebook Ads Know-How for Yoga Teachers. And before you ask, yes, other people have done it. Pilates instructors, massage therapists, counselors, psychologists. Yeah, other people have done this as well. So you don't have to be a yoga teacher to do this training, but definitely the examples I'm talking about in the training are yoga heavy, which is really translatable to a lot of other whole wellness practitioners. So there's a link if you want to take a look, amymcdonald.com.au/Facebook ads. So, I put this together. I put this together because so many people asked for it, because these are the sorts of stories that I was hearing from folks. So people that have spent a whole bunch of money, but had no idea if it had paid off or knew that it hadn't paid off. People who think that boosts are ads. Facebook sends you the thing that says, would you like to boost this and reach 1 million people? And you think, oh, okay, well, $5. Okay, press the button. But no idea if that works for you. Who's actually being shown to? Are you getting like weirdo? Like one of my clients had, what'd she say? She had 4 marriage proposals because she boosted a post without really checking the settings. And it turned out it went to some countries where she was a really prized bride. Let's put it like that. Not exactly what she was going for. Wacky things happen, creeps and weirdos, trolls. you know, if you've ever had that sort of experience, you need to be in this program. A lot of people get super confused because they've got multiple ad accounts. They've spent some money over here and some over there, and they don't know how to cap their daily spend, and it all just feels a little bit loose and scary. Again, another common thing is, like we're talking about with Loretta, maybe it's because you use discriminatory or offensive language, and the last thing you want as a yoga teacher is to be horrible to people. It leaves you feeling kind of icky and scared and nervous about saying the wrong thing. Another thing that people often do is like they forget to turn the ad off. Like your retreat happened a year ago and you're still running ads, and then, oh my God, I've just spent $10,000 on ads because I forgot to turn that sucker off. Like, you know, these are the sorts of things that I see a lot with yoga teachers. And if any of these things have happened to you, dear one, maybe consider signing up for this program. So this is essentially what it is. It's a 4-part training program. I teach you everything that, well, not everything that I know, because that would be boring and go on for way too long, but I teach you in detail how to go build the types of campaigns we've talked about today. We actually step it through so that you can paint by numbers, watch and do. I talk about a lot more about getting the language right, what does work as compelling copy, how you have to be really mindful about not using offensive terminology, what that looks like. For example, are you feeling stressed? Facebook thinks is offensive terminology, which those sorts of things we say all the time as yoga teachers. So how do you make sure that you're getting the language right? We talk about how to build audiences that are really going to convert, that are really the right people for you to be talking to. We talk about retargeting. So how do you use things like your Facebook pixel, I was explaining to Terry before, and reach out to the right people again for inviting them into the next thing that you have to offer. How to build out different types of campaigns, how to, like I said, a lot about measuring your return on investment, understanding your numbers, being able to look at your results and adjust your ad to get a lower rate or a better return. How do you know how to do that? All of this is what I'll teach you over the 4 weeks. And you can see there is a testimonial from the fabulous Rosie Dean in Ascot in the UK. And it happens over 4 weeks, and the setup is that on Monday, my Monday, we have a training call, and then on Friday we do a check-in. So 90 minutes of training first up of the week. You get the week to implement, try, look at your stuff, and then on Friday we get together again for an hour, and you have all of that time to ask me any questions. We can do screen sharing. I can look at what you've built. We can look at your results. The more you lean in and ask questions in those Friday sessions, the more value you're going to get. Like it's, yeah, you can be building and implementing and teaching yourself and measuring your success over the 4 weeks. That's what I really want for people, is that you don't just look at the trainings and get excited about it, but you actually do it as we go, so that you can, by the end of it, you feel confident to run your own campaigns. And not only that, but get great results. So it's 297 Australian dollars. That's about 150 quid at the moment, about 193 US. They're the only two currencies I converted. You have to do your own for Euro and Canadian and Singaporean and all the rest of it. But that's the investment. There's another testimonial from someone who just went through the program, lovely Joanna. Again, there's the link. Let me just check the chat. Oh yeah. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, it's raining here. How lovely. I think I might. See you later. Someone had to head off because they're going to go teach. See you later, Tammy. Anne says, I'm a month away from being able to implement all the info. Will you offer it again? Don't know, Anne. Don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. No plans right now, though, Anne. No plans right now. Come hang out with us this round. You know, because the other thing is, Anne, we record everything, and then you have access to it for as long as you want. So, I mean, you can always go. You can always go and reuse it all. And also, I would argue that if you're about a month away from starting to offer things again, now is a really great time to start running some ads. Maybe not the 3 campaigns that I've taught you today, but there's definitely some other things that you can be doing so that when you are ready to say, hey, who would like this? There's more people who are already surrounding you and already interested. I really think that this is for everybody. I really think that right now is a very powerful time to be building community, if not making sales right now, definitely for community building. So, and if you're unsure, shoot me an email, tell me more about it. And because I suspect that it actually might be great timing. And then the last thing just is that I've got this bonus on. I'm going to be teaching a class. This is coming up this coming Friday, about taking selfies. So I don't know about you, but one of the things that is interesting on lockdown is how do you get enough photos of yourself, because social media actually requires a lot of pictures, and having photos for your ads is super, super important. How do you get enough pictures when you can't go and have a photo shoot? You know, how do you do that? So I'm going to teach you my technique, my tips, stuff you might not have thought of, so that you can take selfies. Those 3 photos there, they're all selfies. How do you take great selfies so that your photos look professional enough and you've got enough material to be promoting what it is that you're doing and encouraging people to come into your online classes or whatever else it is that you have coming up. Yeah, I'll teach you how to do that. It's a free bonus. It's going to be a 60-minute training that's happening this week. So if you sign up for Facebook Ads Know-How for Yoga Teachers by Wednesday, you'll also get access to this Taking Great Selfies Masterclass, which is a pretty handy tool to have in your back pocket right now, given all things pandemic. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share about Facebook Ads Know-How. Registrations close a week from now, but if you're interested, do sign up earlier so that you can get to that free selfies training. 1, it's going to be super fun. And 2, I think, you know, being able to have photographs that you can use in ads, like these pictures, I have used those and they perform. I've used them in ads, they perform well, and I took them by myself. Well, the middle one, I had my dog, but the other 2 was totally by myself. Super handy skill to have. You can just take them from around your house and you have what you need to have really compelling imagery for your Facebook ad campaigns. So you'll get that as well if you sign up by Wednesday. That is everything I wanted to. Oh, when does it start? Says Claudia. I've got to tell you the actual date. It starts not this coming Monday, but the Monday after. And that's Australian Monday. So depending for everybody else, it's probably going to be Sunday evening or Sunday night, depending on where you live. Oh, it's really raining here. It's fantastic. I can hear my garden is just loving it. Claudia, the first session is on the 18th of May. 18th of May. So that's when it starts. Yeah, if you have any questions, folks, just do email me about it. If you want to, is it right for me? Is it too high tech? Is it too low tech? You know, we had people, like I said, I've taught it once so far, and we had people who had spent, I asked everybody at the start, how much have you spent so far on Facebook ads? And, you know, one person said nothing ever. And another person said, we spend about $300,000 per annum. So everything in between. But if you have any questions about it, if it's the right fit for you or not, just email me and we can figure that out. I think that's everything, folks. I'm going to stop the screen share. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've covered about the course? You can type them in. Any reflections? Let me know. Oh, it's filling up my tanks. Thank you so much. Amy says, Claudia, you're so welcome. Thanks for being here. What a nice way to spend an early Saturday morning for me. Great. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad, you know, I really think that I was talking to a friend a week ago who's just in her final module of a 350-hour yoga teacher training. She's been in Ashtangi for like 20 years, and she finally decided that she would like to do the yoga teacher training. And you know, Corona, and so obviously it's turned into half online, and they had their final session last weekend, and the final session was the business of yoga session. And she was texting me once she got home on Sunday night, because she was so frustrated because the teacher who'd come to teach them the business of yoga was talking about how you should be really grateful if you're getting $55 an hour, and you should avoid Facebook ads at all costs because they're a huge waste of money. And my friend who knows a bit about marketing was really frustrated that this false information was being disseminated to brand new yoga teachers. And I know I've seen posts in my Facebook group with people saying, well, my husband says never spend money on Facebook ads because it's a huge waste. And that really, I find that really upsetting. It would be like saying, well, I never use blocks in yoga class because that's just an easy way out of, it's not the tool's fault. It's the user of the tool. And so that's great news for all of us because we can change that part. I do think that Facebook ads are incredibly powerful. You just need to know what you're doing. Like a yoga strap is useless by itself, but if you know what you're doing with it, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. The same is true for Facebook ads. So I do hope that, if you do see any of this negativity stuff coming up, there's some bad attitudes from some yoga folks who have used a tool they didn't understand how to use and got results that, if you're trying to do myofascial release with a tennis ball, but all you've ever done is use a tennis ball for tennis, you're not going to get much myofascial release. You need to know how to use the tool. So hopefully what you've got from today is a little bit more insight about some different ways that you can use the Facebook advertising platform. Hopefully I have hammered home the message that you get to be empowered. You get to generate your own confidence. You get to be masterful and considered in your spend so that you know how much you're spending, how your results are looking, and if you're getting a return on your investment. You get to decide how big or small that is and that feels good for you. And hopefully you've also got a couple of things that are common slip-ups for yoga teachers that you're not going to make anymore. Terry says, I liked your previous point about a fair business exchange in the Facebook ads. Good. Well, I don't know what I was saying, Terry. Hopefully something insightful, maybe. Lucky that worked out. Channeling something. Claudia says, I discovered how much there is to learn. Yeah, and this is the tip of the iceberg. This is like the first dohas of the Hanuman Chalisa, Claudia. We just got through the 3 dohas at the start. Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend. You too. I'm off to bed now. Good night. Good night. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. If you have any follow-up questions, as always, hit me up. I'm a bit crap sometimes at email, so if you want a quick response, I'm better on Instagram at Amy Yoga Biz Coach. I hope it's gorgeous weather, whether that's pouring with rain or whatever you're looking for you. And I hope to see some of you in Facebook Ads Know How. We're going to have so much fun. Take care, everybody. I love the wave at the end of a training. It never gets old. Bye.